Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Had a great meeting, Bournemouth Orchid Society yesterday evening. We actually had lots of fun yesterday. I think people were just in a giggly mood. It gets like that sometimes. It's good. And it's good that it does, because I've heard some orchid societies are serious all the time. That doesn't do for me, but anyway, my Dendrobium friedericksianum's looking a bit sorry for itself now. Obviously the blooms are going over, but it's been out a long time. I suspect this heat is knocking it down quicker than it might have done, but I did say there was a continuing story for, you know, this one at the Malvern show. Basically, I went up on the Thursday, you know, sort of got there late afternoon, checked in the hotel, all that sort of stuff, and then everybody gets up for breakfast on Friday and heads off early to the show to see what awards have been put out, to see who got what and all that sort of thing. Trouble is, we've got a few people that faff. They just cannot get their backsides in gear. So we didn't get there that early in the end, waiting around for certain individuals. Some people just don't seem to be able to get organised. Still, takes all sorts and all that. Anyway, when we got there, our display, Bournemouth Orchid Society display, had got a gold. So that was great. They don't award the best display in show on the Thursday evening, so we still didn't get to know who got that. But the one who got that was the same one who got it last year, East Midlands, I think it is. People have said that we're in close competition with them. Well, they're miles away from us. I don't quite see that, but apparently it's because the best in show is normally either us or them. So they've now got it 2 years on the trot. So I think maybe it's our turn next time. But getting the gold's good, you know. It's shows a standard of not only the display, you know, the plants within it and everything. And I did say that, oh, I got my ribbon. I did say that actually this is special. Getting a ribbon and, you know, something at an orchid society is one thing. Getting a second in class at an International Orchid Show, this is on a totally different scale. So, and the story with this was, because my plant was right up the back in the middle of the display, it couldn't be reached because they put the plants up from the top down. So people stood on the shelves and put the first plants up and then gradually worked their way down. So once it was done, you couldn't get to my plant. So it was halfway through Friday before I even knew I'd got this, because the ribbon was nowhere near the plant. It was just sort of plonked on one of the shelves, not near the plant. I didn't know it was for me. It wasn't somebody from my orchid society told me. It was one of the judges. So lady Zaina, who watches the YouTube channel, she was on the, what stand was she on? It was either British Orchid Growers Association or British Orchid Council's display anyway. But she said, well done on getting your award. And I said, what award? And she said, well, you got a second for your Dendrobium. I said, oh, have I? You know, I didn't know. Nobody told me. Anyway, I said the story continues. So on the Saturday, they pick plants from the whole show to go in to be separately judged by the RHS. You know, it's quite a big deal. And several people came up to me, including Zaina, and said, you should put your Dendrobium in for judging. And my first reply was, well, it's already been judged. I got a second. And then Zaina said, no, judging. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Elbow and all that sort of stuff. And I said, boy, I only got a second. And she said, doesn't matter. It's the plant that counts, not what the award was, you know, as part of the display. And then several other people came up and said, you should put your plant in for judging. And they were all judges. And when judges are saying you should put your plant in for judging, it sounds like a good idea, doesn't it? And that's one of the first times I've ever been nervous. I don't get nervous. What's the worst that can happen? What's the point? Anyway, so it was decreed that Roger's Dendrobium friedericksianum should go in for judging as a plant. So the first thing we got to do is get the flipping thing down. So a very well-dressed lady, one of the judges, I think you see she was from Devon Orchid Society, she volunteered to take her shoes off and climb up the stand and get it down. Because she was one of the ones that said, you should put your plant in for judging. So I thought, well, you get up there and get it then. So we had to take half the display down, literally all the sort of pictures, the memorial setup for our president who died recently, all that had to come out of the way so that she could climb up and get the plant down. So that was sort of part one of the story, and then somebody else put the stand back together again. And then Zaina held the plant up and she said, now look at the plant. And I said, well, yes, the best view is from underneath. She said, no, look at the plant. You've got a couple of blooms that are just starting to go. They need to come off because they're going to look at this plant as is. That's it. So anyway, I took a couple of blooms off and then sort of stood there saying, what do I do now? I don't know. And she said, well, you have to take it round to the RHS tent. Where's that? So anyway, one of my friends, Glenn, who's also a judge and Bournemouth Orchid Society, volunteered to come with me and help me through the process, which, as I said, is a bit nerve-wracking. So anyway, me and Plant and Glenn set off to find the tent, which wasn't very far away, which was good. And you sort of walk in and it gets even more nerve-wracking because first thing you see is a sort of setup with black cloth and everything like that, and a professional photographer with a camera as big as a house. I don't think I've ever seen a camera that big, because all the plants have to be recorded officially, you know. And then you've got to fill a form in, and I didn't know what to put on the form. Most of it's obviously like name, address, email, all that sort of stuff. But you know, anyway, you put in genus, obviously Dendrobium, and then it says species or hybrid, so you sort of cross out hybrid, leaving species, and put friedericksianum, and then cultivar name. I said to Glenn, what do I do with this? And he explained, and anyway, form was filled in, and then you have to vacate the premises, leaving your plant behind. Now, unfortunately, that part of the judging took place between 2 o'clock and about 6 o'clock. There had quite a few plants to get through. So I wasn't there on Sunday. I set off for home Sunday morning. And later in the day, I don't know whether it was on Sunday or whether it was on the Monday, probably on the Monday, Zaina sent me an email and said, congratulations on your RHS award. So I've got an RHS award for one of my plants. This is pretty flipping special. Most of you will probably have seen plants with AM stroke RHS. That's an award of merit. And that is basically for exceptional blooms. It's all about the blooms. And the award is for the plant. Yeah, so the plant gets the award of merit. But a cultural commendation is for the grower. Yeah? And in the cultivar name, I put Hannah for my daughter. So this plant will now always be known as Dendrobium friedericksianum Hannah. And it can have CC stroke RHS on the end of it. So pretty special. And this is just a note to say that I've got it, if you see what I mean. This isn't the actual certificate. And there's more as well, because apparently I'm now going to be contacted by the editor of the Orchid Review, which is a pretty prestigious national, possibly international orchid magazine, where there will be a picture of my plant, and I've got to supply my culture notes, how I grow it, to go in that magazine. So it's, yeah, pretty special. Never expected to ever get to that sort of level, you know. But as I said, this is the cultural commendation certificate is basically for the quality of the plant. In other words, how it's been grown. That's why the award goes to the grower, not for the plant. The blooms on the plant don't have to be anything special, just perfectly normal, and it has to be a reasonable blooming. Otherwise, you know, it wouldn't be a quality plant, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so that's what it was all about. That was the continuing story. And if Zaina hadn't sent me the email, I wouldn't have known I'd even got this until last night at the Orchid Society meeting, because nobody told me. And I'm a trifle annoyed that nobody bothered to tell me that I'd got this. Anyway, that's sort of how it went, and that was the continuing story, which is now ended. And this plant, only this plant, can ever be called Dendrobium friedericksianum Hannah. No other plant in the world can be called that, and nobody else can use that name. The only way there can be a repeat of this is if I split this plant. Yeah, and somebody else has a piece. They can then call it that, because that's what it's now called. And nobody else can get that name. That's unique now. So, yeah, pretty special. Hannah's over the moon to have a plant named after her. But it was one of those things, when I got to cultivar name, I looked at Glenn and said, what the hell am I supposed to put in here? And he said, well, you name your plant. What do you want to call it? It's the bit that goes in quotes on the end. And do you think I could think of anything? I thought of Frampton. Well, that's boring. Christchurch. I did. And he said, what about your daughter? That's it. So in went Hannah, and out it came. So, yeah, that's the rest of the story. And as I say, that is, for me, this is incredibly special, because this is all international stuff now, not just Orchid Society stuff. You know, that's so pretty good stuff. Anyway, I've got some pictures of me getting presented my rosette thing, and then my certificate. Well, my note about my certificate. This isn't the actual certificate. That should come later. At the Orchid Society. The pictures, everybody who got a ribbon at Melbourne, pictures were taken at the Orchid Society for the presentation, because as I've said before, I'm now in charge of doing our magazine, and the pictures were taken for the Malvern show report as part of the magazine. So I'll include those on the end. If I get them in time, you'll see them, because I didn't actually take the pictures, somebody else did. And if I get them in time, they'll be on the end of the video. If not, I'll pop them in another video sometime. Anyway, that's what happened. All good stuff. And it was quite a sight to see the display all being taken apart, and then this very well-dressed lady clambering up the shelves trying to get my plant down. But it had to be somebody lightweight, obviously. They're actually standing on the shelves and stuff. They're built to put plants on, not to hold people. So that was quite amusing. But yeah, a little bit nervous about the whole process, but came out the other end with something a bit special. So anyway, see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.